All right, everyone, welcome to this week's episode. I have a very special guest here. This guest, we worked together in my college radio station. We were always around each other, and we had such a great time in college and such an interesting time in college with our shows. Give it up for Meg. Meg, how are you, babe?
Thank you, Marshall. I'm doing well. Kind of grown into my ranks at the radio station.
Yeah.
Not strictly by choice, but still making the most of it, I guess.
Yeah, how's that
Glad to
going
be.
now in the whole pandemic of it all?
It's going. We were like one of the only student organizations that were really able to adapt to the coronavirus, restrictions, I guess.
Mhm.
Because most of the time, unless your show would probably be struggling because you always had nice guests in and a whole party going on in there. But most of the DJs we have now do their shows alone or with someone over the air.
Mhm.
So it hasn't been too much of an adjustment. We just get some wipes and some gloves and stuff in there. Um, but we've been working on implementing remote broadcasting so people can do stuff from home and upload it to automation. And what else did we just? Oh, we just had the virtual IBS Intercollegiate Broadcasting Systems conference that we have every year. It was virtual, and everyone at the station was invited to come, which was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, I always could not make it because I always had some type of gig or something getting in my way. And I was always so annoyed by that because I'm like, I want to go on a trip with you guys. Like, this seems like a
It
really fun
is.
group to go out to New York City and have a crazy time, you know?
It's so fun. Yeah, we went last year. It was my 21st birthday, and that was a lot of fun. It would have been on my birthday again this year, but of course it was virtual. And this was the
Yeah.
one year I probably really wanted it to be in person because they had such good panels, but
Yeah.
always next
Well,
year.
yeah, we adjust and we keep it moving and you find the beauty in life no matter what, right? So here we
Yeah.
are.
We'll
We
go hang
are
out in New York some other time, Marshall.
Yes, we will.
You and I.
I don't I
We'll
don't
find it. We'll
know.
find a time of day.
I don't know how if you would after what I'm gonna say about the movie that we just watched.
Oh
Uh-oh.
no. Oh no.
I
All right,
have
so
some
this is going to be a
thoughts.
debate. That's fine. Let's
Okay,
go.
well, let's get right into it. So, the movie that we watched was Booksmart. It's from 2019 and it was directed by Olivia Wilde. Writers are Emily Halpern. I'm going to mess up people's name. I'm horrible with names. Sarah Haskins. And there was a couple other people. I think it was Susanna Fogel and Katie Silberman. God, I'm so bad. But yeah, this movie is it's a coming of age movie. It reminded me of Superbad, and there was another movie that I saw with my friend a long time ago. I think it was something Switch. It was oh gosh, I can't even think of the name right now. I'm
Super
gonna
bad. That's with Jonah Hill, right?
yeah, with Jonah Hill, which I heard that the actor Molly Beanie, that's her
Mm-hmm.
brother. They're siblings. I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh
they're
my
they're
God,
siblings.
I didn't even know that." I was like, "That's
It's
crazy."
awesome.
But
Good for them.
so I'm not gonna completely torch the movie. I love the movie.
That's
I
fine.
thought the movie was cool. I liked I like movies like this. I like it when it just feels like this is really some kids that grew up in some town and this is how they would react. I think the reason why I didn't like this movie for me because I couldn't relate to it. That's
Hmm.
literally all. It's not because
Yeah,
I
it was.
thought it
Yeah, it was very much. I want
You're
to say like a
ready.
Gen Z type of movie. No, I get it because I the first time I watched it, I was like also like, wow, this is a really modern thing. And my first thought was like, this isn't going to be for everyone. It's not going to be a movie that is universally loved like Mean Girls and stuff is.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did appreciate is that like a lot of coming of age films are surface level. They're not meant to be taken seriously. They're fun
Yeah.
and crazy. Um, but not a lot of them, go on to be staple pieces of cinema. And even the ones that do, like Mean Girls and John Tucker Must Die and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
still tend to fall into certain tropes. The stories are focused on women, but still gravitate around men. And one of the reasons why I like Booksmart was that it wasn't like centered around somebody else. It was just on the relationship between these two girls, which I
Which I liked
appreciated.
because you don't get to see
Yeah.
that a lot. There's always seems like somehow it relates back to the male narrative in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like this movie, it was just between them, and it was showing their perspective of life, and not this like tainted, unrealistic version of what girls do in high
Yeah.
school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I really
It never
appreciated.
really had that. It never really had the proverbial big bad, like no Regina George or Heather
Yeah.
Chandler or something trying to thwart
Hmm.
them. You had characters that humbled them a little bit, like AAA and Hope and all that.
Yeah.
But no one was out to get them. And maybe it's just me, but I never had that like quintessential bully story. Like I never had that. Most people don't care enough to actively sabotage you the way that those HBICs do, you know? Like
Yeah.
they care. Not a lot of people who would actively try and ruin your high school experience, and I like that that wasn't like present in this film.
Yeah. I mean, did you relate a lot to this movie? I mean, if with your high school experience?
I mean, to be honest, I probably at the beginning of this movie, I probably would have stayed away from Molly. Like, there's no
Yeah.
shame. There's no shame in being a high achiever. Don't get me wrong, but
But
thinking
she's a
that you're
lot.
better than someone for it isn't cool. I probably would have stayed out of her way, and I like that she got knocked off her pedestal by the end of the film. Um,
Yeah, they both did at the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, they it was the last like half hour is like several 1-2s. I related to this movie. Obviously, you know me. I'm a lesbian, and
Mhm.
I really like how they handled Amy's. I don't even want to call it a storyline because it wasn't even something that was a problem or contested or anything like that. She likes girls, and that's established very early on in the film. And it's never made fun of or like over sexualized or anything. There's quips from Molly, like she says like some joke things, but there's like a bit in the film where she's like, "Oh, it's funny your parents think we're boning when they're trying to get out for the party." I made that same joke with my college roommate because she transferred to CCSU and dormed with me, who's gay, after leaving behind a roommate who was also gay at her old school. So I was like, "That's a conversation I've had in real life." And I don't know if this was the first film in this genre to have like a non-straight character at the helm, but it was the first one I saw. Um, so that was like the one bit of the movie that I connected with. But yeah, like I said, if I met Molly in high school, I probably would have walked the other way. I
Yeah,
didn't connect to all parts of it.
that's kind of cool that this is kind of your first movie where you actually seen that in the way.
Yeah.
And those are big movies, because I know for me, when there's some movies that I saw when I felt like I saw myself, which was the movie that I remember and that reminded me of this movie was called Date and Switch. So for those out there,
Mhm.
yes, I can remember things. Yes, it's called Date and Switch. Very similar to my life, but it was like the one of the first movies that I was like, oh wow, that hit home. And you don't realize how good a movie is until it relates to you. Because a lot of times in the queer community, we're just like a weird fake character that doesn't exist, and it's just like a gag. So for us to be a focal point in a movie and to be honest, you just relate to it. Even if the movie's good or really bad, you do not care because you're like, I see
Yeah.
myself. This works.
I'll let it slide.
I'll
I'll let
let
it
it
slide
slide.
fairly for this part. Well, like yeah, like the movie I brought up before, John Tucker Must Die. There was like a bit between. I don't know if you know the plot of that movie, but it's like this guy is having a relationship with like 3 or 4 girl characters, and they all gang up to
Vaguely.
expose them.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
Yeah,
that.
there was like a scene with 2 of the girls kissing to show how to make out or something like that. It was very much a gag, and it's like I don't even want to watch these movies anymore because it's like I have standards now. I started like being more critical of what I consume, and like some of those older films um definitely fit into a lot of tropes and that were missing from Booksmart, which is why again I like this film a little bit more than some of the other ones, I guess.
Yeah.
I could write essays about that party scene and how that was filmed with like Amy and Ryan and all that. That was
Uh-huh.
like so close to home for me. Uh
Really? Well, I mean, I know when I saw it, I was triggered at that party scene by a couple things. Actually, I was triggered by the first party scene when nobody was there at all.
oh yeah.
I
Oh,
was
I
like, you know
forget
how
his
many DJ
name.
parties that I DJ'd where I was like, that was the party, and I had to make
The
it
boat
work.
party. remote party. Aw, he was such like he was a lot, but he was so sweet. I really
He
liked his. I
was.
don't like a lot of guy characters in film. I was like, aw, he's
What they
kind of
call
nice.
him? The one percenter. Oh, here comes the one percenter.
The 1%. Yeah. With his friend Gigi, he's played by Billy Lord, or she's played by Billy Lord, Carrie
That's
Fisher's
Carrie
daughter.
Fisher. Okay, can we talk about the fact that there's like a lot of famous people kids in this
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
Like we have Cuba Gooding Jr. as like the hot jock son. His son plays the hot jock.
Yeah.
And then what was it? So Carrie Fisher and her daughter, which I know her from American Horror Stories. That's why I was like, she looks very familiar.
Yes, Billy
She's
Lord.
yeah. I didn't there's not some two other people that look
American Horror
alike, right?
Story, Scream. No, I believe she was in Horror Story.
Okay.
But I mean, your director is Olivia Wilde. She probably has some
She
connections,
has connection, and that's the thing about how a lot of these movies are made. Like you need somebody who has those connections because, I mean, it was star-studded. SNL people were all up in this movie. Like it was
Phoebe
star-studded.
from Friends.
Yeah, like how do you just get Phoebe from Friends? Okay,
Yeah.
you got connections. Yeah, no, the party scene. We'll go right to the party scene because
Okay.
I feel like when I saw that, you know how many times, and you can relate, you know how many times you meet somebody and you're like catching vibes and you see all like the little signals where you're like, okay, I think they might be my people.
Right.
And then right when you like are feeling them and they're vibing with you, you go see they're making out with somebody of the complete different sex. You
Yeah.
thought you had
Uh,
something, you're alone in the pool, wet and confused.
Not where you want to be. Yeah, no, the way that they did Amy and Ryan's bits really made my heart race.
Yeah.
I have been in her position. Not exactly. I never got invited to parties, but
Oh.
I yeah, I was very boring. I didn't have a car in high school.
Yeah,
But
me
I've been in
neither.
her shoes,
Mhm.
it's funny. We never get much information about Ryan other than she likes skating. And I feel like Amy
Yeah.
had the same view of her. She's really in love with the image of this girl. And then she's suddenly like sitting next to her and sharing drinks and singing karaoke and all that. And there's like this specific moment where Ryan's arm is like brushing against Amy's knee and she's like breathless. My heart skipped a few beats. I had the good fortune to see this film in theaters when it came out, and I was alone.
Heck,
There was
I
no one
forgot
else in
about
the
that.
theater. Yeah. I remember like curling into myself in the chair while all of this was going down because it really like catapulted me back to my high school years. Um,
Damn.
it did, because I had my own unrequited crush. The way that scene was filmed and acted really got to me, just because I was like, damn, she got her happy ending. Good for her. And then that's not the case. She
Nope.
goes into the pool and catches her crush and Molly's crush like eating each other's faces. like,
Yeah, and usually
like,
the
oh,
people that do like you are the people that you like, no thanks. Or people
yeah,
always want to
exactly.
pitch you together.
God,
So I'm like, why can't we just fall in love with their crush and just live a happy ever after life? But no, sorry, not
yeah. I mean,
doesn't work that way.
especially in high school. Maybe this is just me because I went to high school in a different town than the one that I grew up in, and I didn't have a car, so I didn't have a lot of interaction with students and stuff like outside of school.
Mm.
Um, so I did, I had a crush on one or two people, but I didn't really know them outside of our classes. So it's up in the air whether that crush was something solid, if it was like obviously you like a part of them, but you don't get the full picture. So you're in love with this like idea you have in your head, and I think that was the same
Yeah.
way with Amy and Ryan. And then that plot twist with Hope in the bathroom is insane.
Yeah, I was like, what the? And then when she threw up on her, I was like, come
Yeah,
on, girl. Like, her character was frustrating me because I feel like there was a way she didn't have to be that awkward. Like, it was bad. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think we could relate on how awkward we could be at times, especially back in high school when we didn't know shit about shit. But I mean, maybe it's for the movie, but throwing up directly on somebody's chest, you knew you could have turned your head a little bit.
Yeah,
A
I mean
little
that was
bit.
definitely for the gag. I will say about the love scene and stuff between Hope and Amy. The one thing that they did do right was like there was like the struggle for her to like get the shoes and the pants off, and sex is rarely as glamorous as shows like Euphoria and Riverdale make it seem. Um,
Yeah.
and I do like that they embrace that, but yeah, I think the vomiting thing went a little far. Like,
Yeah.
I did not enjoy. I think we could have done without that. Something else. Somebody could have just walked in. You know what I mean? Like that could have been the big thing. But yeah, they definitely went to extremes on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I
And
think.
do you notice that? And I feel like they do this a lot with gay characters, the boys in the movie. They come off like they're living in their own little world and nobody can touch them, which is from what I remember back in just living in high school or watching movies that depicted us. We were always like the butt of the joke and like ugh, icky. And now it seems like a lot of shows are kind of making us out to be like kings of our own world. And I'm like, I don't know if that's how the kids are nowadays, but the gay boys are untouchable. Is that something you noticed?
I mean, I definitely noticed. You know, they did play into some stereotypes with
I
those two
mean, yeah.
characters in
I
the
mean,
film,
sometimes,
like
yeah. Like when
very much.
at the
Um,
costume party when I saw Alan, I was just like, yeah, okay.
all
I was like,
right,
you know what? I would do that though at my own damn party, walking down the stairs, being so
a
dramatic. But
great
I'm like,
actor. He
oh
really
yeah.
he was good in that role. He was
It's like
very
plot
good.
twist. He's like not even gay in real life.
My husband.
My
Um,
husband. Or what did
um,
Alan say when
I
he
know.
said, "I'm
He's like, I
going
know
to"?
nothing but sorrow and
Yeah.
grief. Like that killed me.
Or Alan.
I have
What
to
was
go
the other
plan a
friend?
funeral.
George was like Barcelona, Barcelona,
Barcelona.
Barcelona. I was like,
Shakespeare in
say it
the
again.
parking lot. Yeah. Yeah. I think they definitely played into a few stereotypes. I think I don't want to say too much because how I grew up being at a school in liberal Connecticut might not be
Hmm.
reflective of people in schools elsewhere.
True.
Um, but you know, I I definitely think that depending on where you go to school, it can either be like, people with varying sexualities are either the brunt of the joke, they're
Hmm.
ignored, or, I think I don't know how recent it is, but there's definitely this like new wave of like, I don't want to put straight women in a box, but I'm going to, of like the gay best friend type
Do it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the gay best friend sort of trope. And I think a lot of mostly male gay characters in film are kind of relegated to one of those three boxes, unfortunately. Um, Whereas, realistically, if they don't fall into those boxes, a lot of times they're just a popular kid at school. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know. I didn't have that much. There weren't that many out kids at my school, so I
Yeah.
can't really talk too
And
much.
and that's the thing. Usually the kids who we thought were like, I reconnect, you reconnect with kids when you see them at the bars and stuff. And it's a different relationship. But a lot of them, like the kids that I thought were out, I was like, oh, well, you were the kid. You were the one in school. Like, you were so brave, this, that, this. And they were like, I wasn't out. Shoot, I wasn't gay in high school. And I was like, oh my gosh, some of us, you know what it was? We couldn't hide it, but we still were hiding. It's all about that self-acceptance. And that's the thing that
But
really gets
everyone else is
people.
like
Everybody else
in
knows it, but
front
it's
of
like, if you don't want to admit it, then it ain't really a thing. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I'm like, I don't want to ruin your fantasy. Like you thought you were killing it in high school. And I'm like, girl, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. I clocked it. But then
yeah.
again, that's probably me.
No. It's so funny because I remember, a lot of. I really didn't have too much to worry about. I was friends with some pretty accepting people. I
Hmm.
probably could have came out and been fine in high school, but I spent so much time being like, I need to make sure I'm not like perceived. Not even like, oh, they can't find out. It's more like if I come out after high school, I don't want people to think that I was like predatory or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, so
Mm.
I was so conscious of what I was doing. And I had this conversation with my aunt, I want to say like a week or two ago. And I was like, I thought I was doing pretty good about keeping it under wraps and just not being too obvious about it. And then she was like, "Oh no, I started suspecting when you were like halfway through high school because of how you were like talking about these female celebrities." I was like, "I thought I was so good at
Yeah,
this."
no, it's funny. I remember when I first met you at the school at the radio, and we were at the meetings and everything, and I was like, I bet you she is. I bet she is.
You know.
Because, you know, and I always try to like slip it in there, but I was like, I don't want to push you out or nothing. And so I was like, huh. But I was like, she's very much into, like, you were just like one of the main character where she loves a strong female. She's very, you know, like power to the people. And I'm just like, girl, if this is not Meg.
No, it's funny because me and my roommate, we're like, you know, I am like Molly in terms of size and stature, but Amy's personality, and she's like Molly's personality, but Amy's size and stature. So we always compare ourselves. So
yeah,
it switches. But yeah, it's definitely like you think that you are just so slick, and you know, you're like a James Bond, like so subtle about it, and then you talk to people like a few years later and they're like, oh yeah, we knew. What do you mean you knew? Why didn't you it took me 3 years to figure it out. No one could say anything.
Yeah, we weren't fooling anybody. And you know what? It's okay. It is okay. Because, hey, it made me gravitate towards you. And I think you're awesome. And that's why we're recording a podcast about a awesome movie that I will let you know how I rated it. And more reasons why I'm in the fence about it.
Okay. All right.
So let me get into it. So I think, I hope I didn't trash it yet, but I'm gonna trash it now. No.
No, you haven't trashed it yet. That's why I was like, you said you hated this movie. I'm like waiting for the pin to drop.
You know why? Okay, this is why I did not like the movie. I did not like the movie, and I think it's mostly my personal opinions. It really wasn't bad. I really appreciate it, but I think I don't like a lot of these coming of age movies where it just feels like too clean, too perfect. I like it to be as real, because that's where the humor comes in for me. Like, I like that dark, dry humor. So when I see it, I'm like, who's having a party in that house? How are you just getting a dress like that in your teacher's car? How, like, and I know it's a movie, but it just comes off that there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, that's never going to happen. That doesn't happen. There's just a lot of pieces that I'm like the gay boys having the party. You know how many times I tried to have a party like that and it did not end that way? I was like,
a murder mystery party.
Yeah, how I would love to have a murder mystery party and have like a good group of people in there. Like, nobody's gonna do that with me. Like, there's just a lot of and maybe that's just like we were talking about before. Maybe our generation is a lot different than the kids that are coming up now that I don't know. Like, I did feel pretty old when I was watching this, because I was like, maybe this is what kids do in California and I'm just missed out. Like, I wasn't even the kid to party in high school. It wasn't until I got to college when my whole life started to percolate. But I mean, these kids in high school, like, I don't even remember the kids in my high school partying up like this, going to all the cool parties and being messy and drugs and drinking and snorting vitamins. I don't.
Yeah, my thing is, Miss Fine would be in a wash of trouble between the whole thing with the kid, the student, and even just picking Molly and Amy up. That is like an HR nightmare. Miss Fine would be fired by the time the next year rolled around because of all.
Absolutely,
of that. You're right. The suspension of belief only goes so far with these types of films, and there, like you said, there just comes a point where it's like, okay, this doesn't seem like it would really happen anymore. I get that. I totally
get that.
And then
your principal happens to be your Lyft driver, and then you're playing porn in the back of the car because you thought that was a good idea, and then it hooks up to the car, and he's like, Cardi B, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? That was funny, but I was like, in what world? One, your principal is going to actually give you the ride, and then two, you're going to play porn in the back of his fancy car, which there's cameras in there, because every Lyft driver has like all their like glamour and glitz and all that fun stuff from the dollar store, and then cameras on every angle. Why would you watch porn in this car? I was like,
listen, it was an emergency. She needed to know. So the Wikipedia only covers so much.
Yeah. So that was the only thing that got me. And I mean, but I'm thinking about my favorite movies. Like, even in the first couple episodes that I did, there's probably some movies like Moonlight or Death Proof that I watched when I'm like, oh my God, this is the best movie of all. And maybe it's just a perspective thing, because some of my friends who watched it, they were like, okay, cool. And I'm like, what? This is everything. Because back when I was young, and I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm aged out. I'm getting old, Meg. I'm out.
It's not even
I'm
that. It's just
done.
like some of the themes. I mean, I kind of feel that I haven't watched a piece of media that has only straight characters since like 2016 because like I realized that I wasn't connecting with the stories that were being told or whatever. And yeah, you know, sometimes you have to sacrifice some quality. Unfortunately, we're getting a little better now where you don't have to sacrifice one or the other,
Yeah.
and the stories that are being told now are both of quality and representative of a large group of people. But yeah, definitely, I agree with your point where it's like if you didn't go through some of this, you know, if you weren't a teenager recently, you probably won't connect with this film.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, wow. Well, now it's time for a break. I need to go get my charger because I just realized I have not had my computer plugged up this whole time. And you could see my eyes shifting because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get it. So we're going to take a break, pay some bills with some commercials, get some water, and we'll be right back into the second segment of our show. All right? You going to stay with me?
Yeah, I will. If you'll have me, just make sure you send the link.
Of course. I know, right? I'm going to send it this time, I promise. All right. See you guys in a bit.
See you in a few.
All right. We're back. And we're going to go to a segment that should be a little familiar to Meg because back in my radio days, back in college, I did a show. Well, I'm going to say it every episode. I feel like I would keep talking about it. In the Woods with DJ Edgewood at 107.7 WFCS, New Britain, Hartford, The Edge. Did I get it right?
Yes. Okay. It's been 10 years. You should probably get over it.
I know, like last month. But I did a game. And I think you joined this game once or twice, right? It was the Would You Rather.
I probably did.
So I would just pull in random people from the studio or out in the hallway, anybody I could get my hands on, and I would ask them the most ridiculous Would You Rather questions. So I brought the game here again with you, based off of Booksmart. I'm excited. Are you ready?
I'm a little scared because you said you had mixed emotions about the film, but I'm excited to see what the questions are.
I know. I really was milking this whole I'm gonna like freak you out on how bad I hated this movie, but no, I'm scared. I know. So far, so good, right? I'm not that bad. I'm gonna get her.
No, you have valid critiques that I actually agree with. You know, I certainly don't watch the film because it's like the peak of American cinema.
Yeah.
It's just something. It's like a comfort film.
Yeah, it was a comfort film. Like I feel like I should have gotten like a couple of drinks, you know, got a couple friends over and we watch it. And I feel like it would have been a whole different experience. But to the game, would you rather? Yeah. Are you ready for the first question that I have for you, Meg?
Hit me.
All right. So simple. Would you rather be Molly or Amy?
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna say Amy. Okay. I feel like I'm already there, like 75% of the way. And you know what? My reasoning is just because she gets to travel a little bit. And I'm insanely jealous of her right now because I would like to be somewhere else.
Yeah, she's supposed to be going to Africa, right?
Yeah. Oh man, the moment in the movie where she's trying to figure out if Ryan's, you know, she's like, would you go to Uganda? They'd kill me in Uganda. She's like, would you go there?
Yeah, that's how we drop those hints, those subtle hints where you're like, hey, do you watch Drag Race?
So subtle.
I don't watch Drag Race, but I mean, it's okay if you do.
No. Anyway, you want to go see my truck outside?
You know? Yeah, you want to go see my truck outside? You know, I got like a couple of cool CDs in there if you want to check it out. I would be Molly. I would be Molly because I feel like I'm always the friend who I'm too loud, too obnoxious, me and my nervous laugh. Yeah, I feel like I'm just like right in the front.
Not obnoxious at all.
Yeah, not obnoxious at all. I'm really quiet. That's why I have a radio show, right?
You're vibrant. You're homely. A lot of people gravitate towards you because you are just so like welcome and accepting and just like ready to start a conversation.
Oh, you're so sweet.
People actually want to have a conversation with you, which, you know, the same can't be said for Molly for some of them.
Yeah, like they were talking so much shit about her in the bathroom, which I'm surprised she even came back at them. You know how bad I felt for her when she tried to come back at them with the Yale, and they were like, we're all going to good schools and probably better
I
than
kind of
you.
liked it.
I was like, what?
Good on her for even trying. I would be in the stall, be like, be like
Really?
crying. Yeah, I wouldn't be able. I wouldn't be able to defend myself and be like, "Oh, is that what you think?" And just try and leave.
What? No, I would have came out, washed my hands, and looked at them, give them a look, and then walked out. I don't think I could have came back at them with the whole yell, which I was like, New Haven, hey. I love how they put New Haven in the movie. Shout out to Connecticut.
It's a shout out.
I know. I feel like
I always laugh. I can't believe such a prestigious school isn't. I mean, no shade to New Haven. There's a lot of things going on in New Haven, but it's also a little skeevy in New Haven. I just think it's really funny that we have like one of the most highly regarded Ivy Leagues in the U.S.
It's so weird to me when I walk in the streets, going to the club, and I'm like, New Haven's this place. Like, I've heard this New Haven in like Scandal, the TV show, this movie, so many other movies. When I'm like, okay, that in Bridgeport like was on Family Guy.
Really?
The whole episode, yeah, like a whole episode of Family Guy where I guess they went to Santa's like factory and they looked at it and it was like industrial and they said, wow, it looks like Bridgeport, Connecticut. And then it was like a cutscene to Bridgeport, and I was like, "What the hell is going on right now? Like, did they just shout out like Connecticut? What? Connecticut has something that people like?
Isn't all of Gilmore Girls here?
It was.
Yeah, they mentioned it in Glee too. I remember that. Yeah, every time they say like Yale or New Haven or like Harvard or something, I'm like, hey, it's the closest we're gonna get to fame.
Didn't know that. Wow. Okay. Well. On to the next question. I'm keeping you in the hot seat. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So would you confess your love for Miss Fine or see her at the party and run? Think about high school you. Really think about high school you. Because Miss Fine was fine. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah. She was good looking.
Yeah.
High school me, no, probably.
Even if she was given very flirty vibes and she went to party with you?
If she was my teacher, no. I'd have to see her the next day.
I would... Okay, who am I kidding?
Well, maybe. I don't know. No, I wouldn't be a student pass then. I don't know.
I wouldn't. Even if I was a past student, I feel like that's a fantasy that I would keep to myself.
Well, that would be something that I think the students would have. Like, the students would leave Miss Fine's class and be like, she's so pretty, and like have all their inside jokes or whatever. Be like, do you see what Miss Fine was wearing today? She was so pretty. I don't think anyone would ever confront her about it though. Yeah,
and by the way, isn't it kind of weird that she had clothes that fit both girls in her car, knowing that was her clothes?
Yeah.
Wasn't that kind of weird?
She would be fired for all of that. Like, these are fireable offenses.
Yeah, I was like, how are you fitting all the characters with like amazing cool clothes that fits their personality? Like, okay, I think Miss Fine was planning this from the beginning. This is a conspiracy. I think she planned this whole thing and she went to the party and she was like trying to be a high schooler again. Can we talk about that?
We're going to do a deep dive into Miss Fine's like...
I know, Miss Fine in her weird ways. Oh my gosh.
Booksmart 2, the sequel, Miss Fine is no longer employed in the state of California because of all these like questionable things that she went to Uganda. She teaches in Connecticut now.
Yeah, she teaches in Connecticut. She's a Yale professor. So I will be in that movie. I promise you. Let me tell you when the world opens back up.
Some extras.
Exactly. Okay, last one for me. Would you be bold enough to make out with somebody in high school or nah?
No, I was never bold enough to even entertain the idea. I didn't go on a date until I went to college, so I don't think I would ever be bold enough to try and swindle somebody in high school.
What if somebody were to kiss you and like, I don't know, nobody saw it, but then they kind of went for you and they kissed you? Would you kind of push back a little bit or would you run away?
I mean, it depends. Who are we talking about? A guy or a girl?
A girl.
two very different answers.
Because I mean, it's I don't want to sound like I don't know anything or I'm an alien, but I mean, for how do I put that? I don't know. I feel like, because I'm thinking like, would
if somebody caught me like off guard?
Yeah, like would there be a guy? I'm thinking just on my high school experience, like would there be somebody who actually would make me go back at it and have a relationship or do something with them? Because nobody can get away with my secret, because most of the time when there was a guy who gave me attention in high school, which a couple times there was some guys who gave me attention, but it's always like ick. And I didn't know if it was just self-hate with myself, or I genuinely did not like, if I saw that guy in the bar today, I'd run just as fast as I did in high school. For you though, like, was that the same playing field? Or because some people, they tell me, oh, if anybody was gay, I'm down. Like if anybody gave me attention, I was down. Was that kind of you? Like it just, if you were part of the team, I would be a part of it. Like that would be our secret.
So if I was a little more audacious and, you know, put myself out there a little bit more, if somebody was giving me that energy, would I give it back? No questions asked. Yeah. Or if, you know, would I say, okay, no, I need to make sure. No, I definitely, I only really had like one or two actual crushes. And for me, I don't like a person unless I, you know, like that crush comes from me knowing the person. It's not an instantaneous thing, or it's not even just like, oh, I look at you and I think I like you or whatever. I have to know the person before I like them. So if any just random stranger who I don't know and like haven't interacted with before tried to come near me and tried to do anything, I probably wouldn't go for it, regardless of where they stood. But it might be a different story if I knew the person and maybe not like them, but, you know, were surprised to see if they were reciprocating anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was not hot enough in high school for this to ever be a scenario. Like, I don't think no one would want to do that. But this is nice, truth and dare, or this is nice, like, thing to imagine to see how I would do. I think I've grown a little bit.
I don't believe that. I feel like if you were to go to your high school reunion and you were to talk to people, there was probably some people who really had a crush on you.
I highly doubt it. I cringe at my own pictures from high school, so
but that's you, because I had to learn that for myself. There are some
I don't want to hear it. You know what? Even if they did, they should have said something, because that would have really helped all those years of self-hate. I really would. Even if you did, I hate you now because you didn't say anything, and you could have really helped me out with my self-confidence.
Yeah, I always hear people talk about
both
people.
Of us, buddy.
Yeah, I always hear people talk about other people from their high school days, and they're like, "Oh, I love that kid because it's this." I'm like, gosh, I wish somebody would tell me that if that was a real thing. But I was so shut down. I don't know. There's not much to really pick from. But then again, who knows? They might have an experience that I didn't even know. I helped them out in track practice, and they loved me for that. Or they saw my thighs, and they were like, "Hey."
It's just like something came over them. I guess I wonder if you are, you know, you always wonder if you're like a passing nice figure in somebody's life, I guess. Yeah. I went on a abroad trip to Italy in my junior year. And we did superlatives at the end of it, and I did get nicest person. So I don't know if that counts for anything.
Okay.
That's the only superlative
So that was out of high school, you got the nice person award?
No. This was junior year after the trip. So it was only our group of kids who went on the abroad trip. So it wasn't like even the whole school.
Okay. Did you ever get any of those? Or
no. Again, I was not popular. I don't think I was even, aside from my like photo, I was not in the yearbook. I didn't do anything. I was very much, I don't even want to say I was a wallflower. I just like was not on the radar.
Yeah, my Molly ass, I was like, you know what? I need to be in as many pictures as possible. I know I'm not that one, but I'm going to make myself that one. And I did. And it was not even like the stuff that you'd be proud of. It was just the fact that I was in the background of some pictures, and I was like, hey, I'm on like 50 pages. And then also,
like, I don't even go to this club.
Actually, no, I actually did a lot of clubs, but it was all like stupid clubs that I thought, like business club. Like it wasn't like the elites where they were like, they had it because of their grades. Like it was like, oh, you want to join? Come on down. We'll take you if, you know, whatever. I did actually get the most likely to picture, which I was shocked at.
Really? To succeed?
No. I was most likely to be born in the wrong decade. Which isn't that accurate? And I had an afro when I took the picture. So if you go into my yearbook, I have a full-grown afro.
Is this a compliment? Is this a compliment?
No, I don't think it was. Me and the girl who took the picture together, we were both kooky, and I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you.
That's something that's like on Twitter. It's like, what feels like homophobia but isn't homo? That's literally
like, you're unique. You're like born in the wrong decade, like eccentric. We love you, Marshall, because you're different. All right. That
Oh
was the Would You
man,
Rather questions. I hope they were good. I was trying to think of some
they
that
were.
would really get you. I don't know. Yeah.
I was gonna ask something like, I mean, you sound like you had a great high school experience. I was gonna be like, would you rather get good grades and do all these clubs and, you know, have a good college lined up and a really good career all planned out for you, or would
Hmm.
you rather be somewhere in the middle of the road but have had like a lot of memories and stuff be made? Do you value one over the other?
Middle of the road, right away. Because even though maybe I did make it sound good, it was just pretty simple. There was no high crazy points. It was mostly college that gave me those points. I think in high school, okay, maybe freshman, sophomore year, because I was, like I came in and I had older brothers. So like it was nice to be young and then kind of have an in there. And they were an interesting
Mm-hmm.
group of kids that was ahead of me. So those were some fun memories. But as far as like my own experience and everything, I think I got in my own way. So it was really dry. So I would, because not like my grades were good anyways, but I feel I would rather have kind of wonky, like middle of the road grades and have amazing experiences, because at the end of the day, when you look back, all that really matters is, did I live my life to my authentic self and did I have fun just doing it? Because it may not seem fun then, but when you look back, you're like, I did that. Okay. Maybe I look kind of crazy, but I had my fun. Me and my friends came together. We did the damn thing, instead of us being like, oh, we didn't do that because of this. Oh, I didn't do that because I was scared of this. It's like, that's not a fun story for you or for other people when you tell it. So,
Yeah, and of
yeah.
course you want to have a good future and you want to get into good schools, but at the end of the day, if you don't get into that D1 prestigious university or whatever, there's always another one that you can go to and still be almost
Yeah.
as or you know about as successful as you would have been if you went to the other school and still have had those fun experiences and stuff.
Yeah. Because I don't want to be Molly thinking that school's everything and then look back and go, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a life.
I didn't do anything.
I didn't do shit. So, yeah, that would be
Like,
my answer.
yeah, the people like who know you in high school, if I don't want to be morbid or anything, but if Molly was to like die or something like that, they'd only remember her as somebody that was just like uptight and didn't do anything. And not to say that you should do stuff for other people, but like you don't want that to be your legacy. You know what I mean? Like
No. Yeah.
you don't want to be a stick in the mud.
Yeah, and if that's you though, do it 100% and don't avoid it,
Embrace it.
Embrace your stick in the mud attitude, so you'll be proud of it at least, instead of trying to fight for Yale.
You can still make stick in the mud memories, but try and
Yeah.
do that. You don't have to be doing drugs or whatever AAA and the other boys were doing, but like
Vitamins.
you can still do my special tin of vitamins. Yeah,
Vitamins and sucking
Gigi was
dick.
on another plane.
That girl, I
I
was
love.
like, what the fuck is going on here?
She's so fun. I do love the conversation she and Molly had at the end of the movie, though, where she's like, I hate that they call me AAA. I was just giving them a ride. And she's like,
Oh, but
okay, but
AAA,
also, yeah.
But she also was like, yeah, I sucked a dick, so what?
Where else am I supposed to do at my house?
I appreciated
like,
that line. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of hope that because they're both going to Yale, her and Molly. I kind of hope that like somewhere off screen that they're friends now at Yale. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not dorming together, but like
That would be a
maybe
fun
getting along now that
sequel.
they've seen each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like they
college.
would be
Amy's
friends.
coming back from Uganda.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
Uganda, Botswana.
Yeah, I picture that. I think they will be. So that's good energy right there. Yeah, especially after that
Mm-hmm.
ride. So, last question I have for you before we wrap this whole
Yeah.
thing up is rating. So every movie I give it out of a 4-star rating,
Yep.
4 being amazing, and then all the way down to 1 being the worst movie I've ever seen in my freaking life. How would you rate this movie? I know it's high ratings for you, but what would you
Yeah.
rate it?
Well, I mean, even though it's a comfort movie for me, I can definitely from like an objective standpoint, I can see where like it falls flat in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it a 3. And maybe that's my personal bias. I'm, again, because of this genre and it's coming of age and all that, I'm not expecting perfection and like all plot holes and everything to be tied up nicely with a bow. Um, I give it a 3 because you do have to suspend your belief a little bit to enjoy it a little bit more, and you have to be within a certain age range. But at the end of the day, I think it's a fun energy film. So yeah, a 3 out of 4.
I agree. Okay, my rating is a 2 out of 4.
I figured. I was waiting for it.
I love the movie. I thought it was amazing, and I think that there's going to be a group of kids out there who are going to relate to it, and they're going to live by it, and they're going to get the poster, just like I did with my favorite movies that I related to. I just feel like there was some parts in the movie, and I think my rating's only based off of my old bitter ass, right? So, but I think there was some parts where I just have a hard time with movies where I'm like, that's not real. And because it's not real, and it's so like they needed that point to get to the next point of the movie, I was like, you lost me there. Like, I like when it comes to coming of age movies, I'm gonna need it to be real. The more real, the more funny it is, because I'm like, that shit is exactly like how it happens. Instead, I was like, yeah, Miss Fine's gonna give us a ride and come to my party, and I'm gonna go to like a mansion to party. And I don't know. Yeah, 2.
In reality, you know, Miss Fine wouldn't have picked them up. You would have had to either walk there or find like a sketchy taxi or something like that.
Yeah, like we
Maybe
literally would be walking to everywhere.
Yeah, literally. Or maybe you just would have gone home because that was closer, you know, but that doesn't make for, you know, then how would they get to the party? Yeah, you're right. There definitely could have been some better stepping stones to each section of this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, like I said, I agree with your point that, you know, there are just going to be some films that resonate with a certain sect of people, and then other ones that don't really apply to our lives, you know.
Yeah. But I still love it. It's not personal, but I need to switch it up because I noticed one of my friends was like, well, you just like everything, don't you? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, you've given a great rating to every single movie so far. I'm like, what?
I was like, you have a lot of content about things that you like. It's easy to like give a lot of stuff about things that you like. But,
yeah,
you know,
and of course
it's harder to be critical of it.
Yeah, the first couple episodes, of course, I'm gonna put my favorite movies first, and then we're gonna get right into it. I mean, I didn't purposely go to 2 stars. I genuinely feel that way just for me. I mean, I know this movie's gonna be a hit for somebody else. That's the thing about movies. I never try to listen to critics or Rotten Tomatoes or whatever as much because there are some movies that I love so much and they were trash. They were rated trash. People hated them, but it was great for me. So I wouldn't take it too personal.
I feel like critics are definitely like still gatekeepers and stuff because again,
True.
like if they aren't, you know, if you're a critic for the New York Times and you're 50 years old, you're not gonna, not even just to coming of age movies, but like some younger films that are being made by younger producers and filmmakers are not going to apply to you. You're not going to see. I don't want to be ageist or anything like that. Like,
do it.
Like, I sometimes, even if it doesn't apply to you, you should still have the ability to step back and look at it objectively and say, okay, was this a good film in terms of like thematic and like, you know, like narratively? And if you can't separate me being like, see, the thing, that's why I like what you did, you know, you are still able to acknowledge that this is going to be a good thing for some other people, not you yourself. You can still see that the movie is good for something and separate that opinion from how you felt about it. Where I think a lot of critics on like Rotten Tomatoes and all that kind of stuff like that are able to differentiate.
Yeah, they're like, no, this is shit.
Yeah, just because it didn't apply to me.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I have. And yeah, that's it for Booksmart. That's the wrap up of the whole episode for this week. I mean, what'd you think? Was it good?
I enjoyed it. Thank you. This is actually the first time I've been like a guest on a podcast, and I'm so happy it was yours first. So
thank you. Yeah. And I'm glad that I got you on here because I've always appreciated you from the beginning I met you because I was like, I like you. You seem cool. Like, I feel like we would watch a movie that everybody else is like, and I'm like, we're on the same page. And we were.
We're like dying over.
Yeah, we're like, yes, I love this. I love that. Okay, great. Boom. We can talk about it. How could people find you on social media? Is there anything that you want to plug right now? Because I want people to see your face, follow you, get to know you on your page.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's not too many pictures of my face on my page, but you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at TheRealMC099. That's TheRealMC099 on both platforms. And I do have a website in the works, but that's not up and running just yet. I have a link tree in both my bios, so if you want to find out more about what I do and some examples of like writing and other things that I've done, you can head over to those social media profiles to find all the information.
Awesome. And for me, you guys can follow us at the AfterThought Podcast on Instagram at AfterThought Pod, Pod. We are now on Spotify, so if you listen to your podcast and not on YouTube, because I know some of y'all hate YouTube, I get it. I'm a iTunes Apple guy, so we're getting there too. But for now, we are definitely on Spotify and Anchor.fm. So if you are that type of person, we are there for you. I'm getting Apple, so don't you worry about it. We'll figure that all out. Also, you can check out the YouTube page, AfterThought Podcast. Same name. You'll see my pretty face on the phone with my red and blue sunglasses. And you can email the show. Let me know if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, or you want to be on the show. Please, I'll take anybody because I love to just talk about movies and watch movies with people. And like I said, I'm trying to get back into this hobby of just watching movies, whatever they are, good, bad, or in between, and talking about it. So you can message us at afterthoughthub, HUB, @gmail.com. And anything, literally, leave a comment, please. Follow us, check us out. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. And I cannot wait to have you on the next episode. I'm trying to think what kind of movie. I think we already talked about it. We might do Heathers.
Heathers, possibly. We're gonna stick with the high school theme.
I know, stick with the high school theme.
Okay, you want to do like a series? We can go through all of them.
Of just really bad high school movies.
Yeah, all the trashy one. We'll do Legally Blonde. We'll do Clueless.
Ridgemont High. Yep. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yep.
Oh, we'll go back. We'll do Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink. I just watched Breakfast Club. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Pretty in Pink. I think I want to say senior year of high school. I definitely haven't watched as many classics as I should, but maybe we'll use this as a chance to spring into that.
I'm here for it. I mean, some of them I watched, but it's been so long I don't even remember because old age. But yeah. Thank you for coming on the episode. I know. Thank you for coming on the episode. Can't wait to see you till next time. Can't wait to see you guys and listen to you guys next time. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me on the Afterthought.
Yes, I'll see you later.
See you soon.
Bye.